This Coldplay review is sponsored by Picky. A huge thank you to the app for being so supportive of my channel. They're a fun, free experience that can get you paid just for listening to music, so give me just a second so I can tell you about why you should give them a chance. It's in the name, right? We all hear things differently, we're picky, I should know, I'm an only child. So imagine a place where you discover new stuff just by rating the song clips the app generates for you. Think of it like Tinder, but with music. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or even super like a track, and the algorithm picks up on your taste, and if you connect to your Spotify account, it learns what you love even faster. They just released a new update where you can get all your super likes on a Spotify playlist as you save them. So just connect to your account, star the songs you love, and come back to hear the full tracks later. Last but not least, Picky can literally get you paid through Venmo every time you level up. Listen and rate, hit a new level, and you'll literally get $1 each time you do, just from sampling music. Download the free app, it's the top link in the description down below. Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and it's time to review the 9th studio album Music of the Spheres by the British alternative pop and rock band Coldplay. This is a band that have seen success for decades now, led by Chris Martin and featuring the same core lineup of the 4 members for the entire run. They've had some impressive achievements in their career, including what I feel is their seminal album, Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends. They struggled during the 2010s creatively, although I still definitely defend the great album Ghost Stories that launched in 2014. It's just that ever since then, they've not entirely seemed to have a focus on what they wanted to do. However, in 2019, they did put out a double album, Everyday Life. It's one that I respect, but also kind of look at from a distance because I just don't necessarily feel a connection to it, and I think a lot of people agreed, as that album didn't exactly perform well. And Music of the Spheres, it seems like an overly desperate attempt to launch them back to the stratosphere, which I guess makes sense because this album does kind of have the space theme. It is, I suppose, in the most basic of forms, and that's the problem with this record. There is a thin line in the sand between what Coldplay have done in the past that's simple, and now what they're arriving at, which is just basic, bland, monotonous pop music that occasionally has flashes of their previous brilliance, but it doesn't do it nearly enough. It ends up looking like a hollowed out robot that's wearing a mask of Coldplay. With veteran hitmaker Max Martin serving as the album's executive producer, it was pretty clear that Coldplay were zeroing in on a more commercial-friendly scale, something that they hadn't necessarily touched on as an entire project since A Head Full of Dreams in 2015. That effort might feel shallow, but I do feel that there are strong puzzle pieces that are there, they just don't always connect the right way. And with this new album, Music of the Spheres, it almost feels like a very watered-down version of Milo Xyloto or even A Head Full of Dreams, and taking some of the most basic production aspects and the songwriting cliches and just stacking them up like a huge sandwich you would see in Scooby-Doo. If you'll allow me to run down that never-ending hallway for a second, it's like they said, hey, let's split up, gang! And then all of the members and their producers and the writers, they just kind of all went off to their different rooms and said, how can we make this the most watered-down, basic approach to just splitting everybody up and then going against their strengths with some very extremely tepid results? You see, when you take certain colors and mix them together, they don't turn out very pretty, and the result of that is a track like Biutyful, or something like the collaboration with Selena Gomez that feels like one of the most generic, stale adult contemporary tracks that you will find in the modern age. That's not to say that there isn't a market for a lot of the songs on here. I found myself enjoying Higher Power the more I listened to it, and I was shocked at how much My Universe featuring BTS was not exactly the worst song on the album at all. In fact, I think it's one of the top 3 tracks here. It's a feature that works because they actually make great use of the guys from BTS, and they lend some Coldplay 80s nostalgic synth pop meets a little bit of alternative flair magic to the mix, and it ignites. Beyond the fact that I think the emoji titles are again trying desperately to stand out, and as a result of that, they just come back in your face as all-out cringe, they just don't serve the album really any purpose. Only like 1 or 2 of them actually somewhat flows into the next track, Why do you have an interlude if it just kinda coasts by, doesn't leave any sort of impression, and fades out without even flowing into the next one? Over the years, I feel that I've been consistent on criticizing interludes and saying, well, if they are going to be there and excessively be there, they better at least flow into the next song. Set it up, serve it like a softball pitch, and hit it out of the park. Say what you will about Infinity Sign. I think there's some decent enough ideas in there outside of the ole, 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 ole stadium chant, which just feels like, what the fuck? Why is that there? Putting that aside, I do think that there's solid elements. I like the bass groove. It feels a bit hypnotic. It's not bad, but for the love of God, why does it just fade out and crumble right before giving way to Coloratura? It's like you kill your momentum, and they do that time and time again on Music of the Spheres. Now, I know that I'm coming across very harsh to Coldplay on this album, and that's only because I know that they are capable of doing so much more. This is easily their worst album to date, featuring such basic, filtered out lyrics that feel like they were shopped around to dozens of focus groups before finally landing on something that maybe would connect with the entire universe. Johnny Buckland feels muted with his guitar performances, and the solos get cut off way too soon. They don't really think outside of the box, and I don't think I could tell you a single noteworthy bass performance or a drum moment. And even Chris Martin seems to struggle with finding attentiveness as the captain of the ship. There is, however, one massive tidal wave that's spreading saving graces everywhere, and that's the closing epic finale that's basically a prog pop masterpiece. It's Coloratura. Coloratura is an incredible tune. It just sees everything I love about Coldplay getting an exclamation point placed on top of it. Coloratura gets every element right, down to those beautiful stinging piano keys, to the more illustrious symphonic elements, and also Chris's effervescent voice, that amazing guitar solo that just really lets it shred and play out over multiple minutes. It doesn't feel like they confine themselves to a box that they trap themselves in for nearly every other track. Humankind is gentle. I really like the hook on this one. Some of the instrumentation goes there, and while I have problems with People of the Pride and how it feels almost like a Muse Uprising knockoff, if you're going to knock off Muse, maybe don't make it their most popular song with that big striking bass. I do feel that it's at least one of the more engaging, like, hey, it commands your attention, at least I'm not zoning out in left field somewhere. Human Heart really tries to layer and stack vocals to give off a choral effect. I just feel that they've done it in much stronger ways with like a track from Ghost Stories, Midnight, that actually feels emotionally compelling. This one falls apart when you start to pull out the little Jenga pieces, and it crumbles the entire tower when you realize that this song has been written to death already. Guys, there's no gentle way to segue into the next track. It's the worst on the entire album by a landslide. It's Biutyful, that's spelled incorrectly on purpose because we're all different, I guess? 'Cause you're so beautiful. I don't even think that impersonation is that exaggerated. It is like nails on a chalkboard done by Satan, just dragging his giant fucking claws just right up and down it. Music of the Spheres has no idea what it wants to be. It sails about the globe with no real captain. It's overly flashy in places. It strips down the best ideas that Coldplay have and reduces the fraction into the worst part that we could ever have, which is the basic factor. This album, Music of the Spheres, I cannot rate any more than a strong 2 out of 5. Did you find yourself shrugging your shoulders and just feeling passé on the album like me, or did you have a different experience entirely? This is all just my opinion, so let me know yours in the comments down below. Please hit that like button, subscribe for the love of music. If you want to follow me on social media, there is a link in the description down below. Thank you again to the sponsor of this video, Picky. Check them out, top link in the description, and I'll be back soon for more on ERTV.